Thank you. Thanks for having me here. There must be something inherently Washington-based for us to always try to find something negative, something worrisome, something that's about to go wrong or about to go south from every situation. I'm going to actually try to focus on something very positive that actually just happened in the Kurdistan region, and that is we've had fantastic elections that were largely free and fair by all of the international accounts that attended and monitored these elections, where we've had almost an 80% turnout of eligible voters that came and voted in these elections. Almost just under 2 million people, I think it was the actual numbers, where there was a fantastic and rigorous campaign process that went with these elections, where people were using very sophisticated mechanisms to campaign, and also some of the more traditional grassroots campaigning tactics. Having just returned, and just to clarify for the record, I only voted once, and I had some blue ink still left on my finger to prove that I actually voted, but I did only vote once on Henri. The excitement was running very high throughout the region. People saw it as a festival, as a carnival. Sometimes the excitement got a little bit too high. Sometimes it boiled over into something that we didn't like to see. But all in all, the campaign process was very exciting. And as a Kurd, forget my party or government affiliations, as a Kurd, I was very, very proud of how the elections were conducted. I think the winners in the elections was the Kurdistan region, rather than a particular list, a particular slate. The region as a whole won these elections. There was a lot of scrutiny on us. There were a lot of people around the world, and some here in Washington, that had stated that democracy has regressed in Kurdistan, and there is a democracy deficit in Kurdistan, and that once a beacon of hope and stability is somewhat slipping into disarray. And I think these elections were a strong rebuff of those criticisms. Unlike transitioning from a guerrilla movement to somewhat of a democratic system is not easy. It's a difficult one. We've had 17 years of trying to manage this transition. It was only 12 years ago that the internal fighting between the two parties ceased. It was only in 2003 that the sanctions was ultimately lifted on Iraq. So it's been a very turbulent 17 years. But I think what we're still starting to see now is that we're able to look beyond the tragedies of our past and deal with the issues of today. And I think, again, going back to the issue of the politics being local is a really defining moment in Kurdish politics. In reality, the first time that the region spoke about a constitution was all the way back in 1974. In 92, this draft was actually put together, circulated and discussed by the first Kurdistan regional government. This process went on until a more developed draft was ultimately presented and put forward in 2006. Between 2006 and today, we have circulated this constitution within our constituents. We've received about 5,000 comments about the constitution, recommending certain changes and amendments. Those amendments were largely incorporated and were presented to the Parliament. I think the Parliament wanted to leave behind a legacy, which is why it wanted to present this constitution before it was, in effect, out of a job. But probably did present it too late in the process, and the Independent High Electoral Commission could not manage a referendum process on this constitution, and hence why it was not part of the electoral process. So I do think the issue will likely come up in the next Parliament. It is not a wild card that we as the government want to somehow use against Baghdad. We need a law that governs, that regulates. We need a constitution that is going to actually govern and regulate our region.